Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Fahzaly Advice. I truly do appreciate those that have been watching, have been enjoying, and I hope you have found value in my words. Thank you so very much for your support. Now, we've got two new submissions today, and the first one, well, it's a doozy. Let's get on into it, shall we? Dear Fahza, I have a large friend group. We have been friends since college and still get together every year or so. Though we live miles apart, we are still close because we communicate constantly through our socials. I love all my friends, but recently one of them has taken to creating a social media persona of a loving mother with a perfect family. Now, we all know that this is far from the truth. Not to go too deep into it, there has been multiple affairs, and her husband openly admits to wanting to leave. But because of their kids and financials being tied together and their house, it isn't a responsible decision to separate. This is an agreement that came together mutually. Tension in their household is so thick, I can cut it with a knife. Because of this, she has admitted to all that this persona is an escape for her about this entire situation. And recently, our friends have been talking together in a message group about this. They think that her escape is only hurting her and that she needs to do something about this. That she might as well be in purgatory, and it's not good for her or her kids. They are coming together to plan an intervention, but I personally am against it. Because, well, she told us this in confidence, and they made a mutual agreement. And even though they are just bad for each other, I don't think it's right for us to try and say anything about it. Am I seeing this wrong? As her friends, do we have a responsibility to do something? Signed, that friend. Oh my. There is a lot to be said here, for sure. Now, one, I 100% respect your standpoint, that friend, of, one moment, excuse me, of you believing that you don't necessarily have a say, because the truth of the matter is you don't. None of you do really have a say in how and what they do, because the decision is theirs. But as concerned friends, if you do care about her and you see your friends suffering and you know that at the very least it could be better, that the situation that they put themselves in isn't necessarily the, in your opinion, responsible decision, as her friend, you're more than welcome to, and in my opinion, you really should voice your opinion because you care. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's wonderful. That even though y'all live so far apart, that you still are able to be close, that you care enough to come together for your friend who is suffering in this situation, even though they have chosen in their own decision to be in this situation. But from the way that you're depicting it, it seems to be a very toxic decision. Because all things considered, and all things aside, there is always a way to adapt to the situation. And you don't need to put yourself in a house of pain and deal with it. This is your life. Live it how you see fit. There are responsibilities, for sure, that you garner as you grow older and as you make decisions. And it is commendable to take responsibility for that and accountability for that. But you need not cage yourself because of it. Adapt and evolve. And I'm guessing that your friends see that. And because they care, the last thing that they want to do, and I'm sure the last thing that you want to do, because you care as well, I can see it. Otherwise, you wouldn't put this quandary. You would not have submitted this quandary. Both of you care, but both of you are coming from two different sides, which are very valid. And hopefully you can come together and communicate. Because communication is key in a relationship, in all forms of relationships. And I want people to realize that when I say relationships, it's not synonymous to romantic relationships. It spans towards everything: friendships, familial relationships, and the like, and more. These relationships only develop through communication. And it is difficult. But that's why it's worth it. Nothing in life worth doing will come easily. And no one's going to hand it to you. So there is merit in your thoughts and how you feel about the situation. But there's also merit in how your friends see it. It's not necessarily responsibility. It's simply compassion and care. It's loving your friend enough to want to communicate, but they might be being a little bit assertive about it, which is where your contention lies. And there's nothing wrong with that. So often we try to seek agreement. So often we try to seek a mindset where we have to agree. But that's just not the truth. We don't have to agree. We live in a world that evolves and is built upon our disagreements, our contentions, and how we face them and how we adapt to them. It's only through that we are able to grow. Now, my main piece of advice when it comes to this situation, and I truly hope that possibly, potentially, your friend may reach out, because all points are pretty valid here. One, her side of wanting an escape from the terrible situation that she is in, even though it wasn't a mutually agreed situation. I understand, because there is a lot to consider. And because of that, there is more to it than you may think. So, within that, you may want to consider more than just what is currently going on. Remember that, well, it's her relationship. And though she may not want to be in this situation, she may not want to be in this place, she chose it. And that is something to be respected. But yes, I do understand that it is to be concerned that she's perpetuating herself in this situation when it doesn't need to be just this. It could be so much more. And within that, potentially, to be considered, that this just needs to be a situation where there needs to be more communication between you, your friends, and her, instead of having this message group that, from what it seems like, doesn't include her. Interventions are a drastic measure and should be considered thusly. Shouldn't be something that you should consider just because you see a problem. Coming together to maybe communicate with her is one thing. Turning it into an intervention seems like it could backfire, because it could feel like you're teaming up on her. What she needs is understanding, compassion, someone to hear her and her plight. And it's only through that you may be able to grow, that she may be able to grow and build past this situation. But we'll have to wait and see. You'll have to wait and see, because ultimately the decision and what occurs is going to be hers decision. It's going to be her choice. And you can't make that for her. No one can. But I get where all sides are coming from with this. I even get why she made the agreement. I even understand why he may even believe this. Because he's part of this situation as well. Her partner. Her husband. But we can't let these ideas of these expectations that we have to do this or that stop us from realizing that there is more than one solution. Divorce is change. Change is jarring. And there is a lot to be considered. But it ultimately may lead to a path that's better than suffering through life with someone who's just there. That's adding to that suffering, not taking away from it, not helping. I see no reason to be stuck in that situation. And I truly do hope, that your friend, as well as you, can see where I'm coming from with what I'm saying. And hopefully, this will lead to a communication. This will lead to y'all coming together and talking, including your friend. And maybe helping her open her eyes in a less confrontational manner. Because that's what interventions are. They're very confrontational. And that could quickly turn into a visceral situation. So hopefully, that friend, this helps. And hopefully you consider what I say. Thank you so much for your submission.
Well, hey everybody! Did you know that Agent Fahzaly Gamer has a Patreon?
That's right, and Random Skull is here to help tell you about it!
And that's right, we're doing this announcement together!
And when you subscribe to Patreon, you get to see content early, and of course, make requests for content on YouTube, and even on Twitch and TikTok. It's all up to you!
And of course, if you want to support Agent Fahzaly Gamer, check out these links. And of course, there are also links in the link tree.
And remember, when you subscribe to Patreon, you can also leave a message saying that Random Skull is better than Mr. Announcer.
Now, was that even really necessary?
Alrighty then, let's get on into that second submission, shall we? Dear Fahzaly, when I was in high school, I had one friend who was always there for me. Or at least that's what I kept telling myself. As I grew up and went to college and life went on, we drifted apart. Over time, I made new friends who were different. They are amazing. I have never realized just how toxic my best friend was to me in high school, always calling me fat and stupid if I ever said anything against her. In truth, she only acted like she was my friend if I was completely obedient and insulted others with her. It was high school, and as a kid I craved acceptance. She would even defend me if others would try to be mean to me. Looking back though, it seemed more possessive rather than for friendship. But she was also the only one who ever talked to me and kept me company during high school because I was incredibly socially awkward. My recent and newest friend group, though, has taught me that it takes more to being a friend than just being around, and that friends should build each other up. They helped me realize that I was being bullied and that she wasn't really my friend. Recently, she reached out to me on social media and asked to meet for coffee. I do not wish to rekindle this friendship. Any advice on how to gently decline further contact? Signed, On to Better Friends. Well, on to better friends. There is a lot to talk about here. Now, when it comes down to it, me personally, how I would handle the situation might not be how most people would handle the situation. For in this case, I would be a little bit less tactful about my approach. But that might be due to the fact that I grew up with a family that did everything that they could to remove subtext from the equation so that we would say what we mean and mean what we say. And it didn't matter how we said it. What mattered was what was being said. But that's not always the case for everybody. And of course, context, nuance. These are things to be considered within every single situation in life. But me personally, what I would have done, or what I would do the moment that this person tried to reach out to me and these realizations were already made, I would be quite direct about the truth. I would say, hey, listen, I understand that you thought we were friends in the past, but in truth of the matter is, I didn't really enjoy, nor do I really want to rekindle that relationship. I'm sorry, but I'm a different person. You're a different person. Let's keep it at that, shall we? And that's where I would end the conversation. Some people might find that rude, but I think it'd be more rude to create subtext and a lie around a supposiality that there is a message there that needs to be said, but because of the fact that you're uncomfortable, you don't want to say it because it isn't pleasant. But here's the truth. Here's the brass tacks, my friends. Life isn't pleasant. The truth isn't meant to be pleasant. And sometimes the lessons that life presents to us are harsh. And if we expect the information to be palatable every time, then we will never adapt. Because it's not about that. Because life isn't going to give you something palatable every single time just because it needs to fit into a box that you created. That's on you. Now, as I said, when it comes to this situation, do what you want. But my recommendation is to be straight with the truth. Tell this person that you no longer want to have contact, that you're not friends, you never really were friends, and what you had in the past wasn't a friendship. And if that is what she wants to go back to, then she will be sorely disappointed in the person that you are today, because you are different. And if she wants to accept that, that's great. If she doesn't, that's great. It doesn't matter. You are what matter in this situation and what you want to do. So it's a choice that you have to make. Do you want to see what this person has become? Maybe there's someone different. Maybe there is a chance for not only closure in the situation, but a friendship to blossom anew. That is always a possibility. And that is something worthy to be explored. But it's a matter of whether or not you think it's worth it. Because your time, your mind, your emotions, your heart, these are all gifts. And you need to treat them thusly. Don't just give them to anybody out there just because you want acceptance. You've learned that lesson. It's quite apparent in what you've written here. And it's a sad truth that many children, many of us go through this particular part in our life as we grow up, craving acceptance and validity, thinking that we have to fit into some box. And that is the only way to get people to accept us and to find friends. And it's sad because in that environment, the individuality that should be blossoming is stunted and set aside for the sake of acceptance, when that acceptance is not worthy of your time or your mind or your heart or your suffering. Your journey is yours alone, and you need not anybody there to tell you which way to go, because their opinion will not change the fact that you are the one that will be facing what life has to offer, what consequences come with the actions you take and the choices you make. They just have a say in words, but those words are only given power if you listen. So what is it that you want to do? Consider that first before you make any action. before you consider anything, friendship is a gift. And it's not something that you should just give away like a token. It's not a currency. You deserve more self-respect than that. And thankfully, you've gotten to that point. And I'm hoping that those that listen to this will get to that point. I'm hoping there are some that may be younger that hear this message and hopefully realize that you don't need to be like everybody else. You don't need to say the same thing everyone else says just because they think it's funny or just because it's popular. Popularity is a crapshoot, and it means nothing in the long run. As you grow, you realize that the opinions of others matter nothing to the light that you wish to shine. This is your path to make, your story to write. You are the author, my friend. Take hold and start writing, for you have a glorious journey ahead of you, all of you. Don't let anybody take the reins. Don't let anybody take that from you. Okay? You are your own self. You are an individual, and you will grow in that individuality to see what it has to offer for you. It's not about anybody else. Despite what anybody may say, despite what expectations and pressures are placed upon you, those expectations and pressures are nothing more than illusions, sloughed off as easy as a loose coat. Never forget that. So, on to better friends. It seems like you're on to better things. So continue down that path. Don't regress. And never think that you are chained to obligations in any way. An obligation is an illusionary cage that was created by you. The only obligation you have is to yourself and how you want to live and how you want to be seen and who you want to be. And that's what matters most. So I hope that I was able to help you in some way. I hope that you continue on this path of growth and realizing how amazing you are, that your worth is priceless and you need not give it to anybody. And you deserved better than a friend who only accepted you for your obedience. That is not friendship. That is servitude. And there is no affection to be garnered from servitude, only resentment. So I hope that this helps. I hope that you continue to be on to better things and better friends. And I hope that those that have listened find value in my words. I do appreciate y'all. And we'll see you in the next episode of Fahzaly Advice. Y'all have a wonderful day now. Well, everybody, that's the end of Fahzaly Advice. I hope you did enjoy this episode and you found some value in what I said. And of course, if you are interested in participating, if you need some advice or some perspective, feel free to email the address at the end of this part. And remember, all submissions are 100% anonymous. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
Need some perspective? Need some advice? Want your submission read on podcast? Well, email Fahza at fahzalyadvice@gmail.com. And remember, all submissions are 100% anonymous unless requested upon.